arrived. Some of us feel like we're so evolved, but we're still evolving. So, but the key is to look at that other person and say, one day they will feel differently. It's our job to know that they will step into the light when it's the right time for them, and not to feel like it has to be when I think it's the right time. Okay. So that's that. And that kind of goes back to your instant gratification question. I want to be able to say something to you. I want you to hear it, and I want you to instantly get it and change. But that's not how it works. Just like I know that I have two choices here. I can go and take the next 5 days of being able to walk this water fast to bring that back, or I can just go eat. That's instant gratification, right? But here's the thing. There is a cost benefit analysis of every choice that I make, right? It's sort of like the fork in the road. So I can't see down that road and it's kind of dark, but I can see all the light down that road. So why don't I go towards the light? Well, but here's the thing. What if there's only light at the beginning of this path, but the path on this side, but it's dark the rest of the way? Whereas this one's dark only around that bend, but it's light rest of the way. So we have to know that the light is always there, even when we can't see it. So it goes back to the faith component, but not in the spiritual sense. If you're not a believer, that's fine. I don't need you to. It's more just like faith in the fact that if I just go and keep walking, eventually there will be light. But if I'm looking for light now, I can find it, but I may be in darkness, because what happens is once you eat during that 5-7 day water fast, you feel terrible about yourself. You then spend the next 5 days beating yourself up for not being the kind of person that could make it through a 7-day water fast. So it's actually a really terrible cost for eating that food, right? And so when we say instant, how do I deal with instant gratification? It's that I make my instant gratification equal. So I say, I'm going to feel good about not eating, just like as if I had ate. So like, in other words, I can taste that food, right? Because that's what happens when you're really hungry. You're like, ooh, I remember what fried chicken tastes like. I'm a vegan right now as I'm talking to y'all on this cast. And I'll tell you, I don't eat meat. Do I remember what fried chicken tastes like? Heck yeah. Do I remember what ribs taste like? Yes. Okay. But I'm not tempted now, right? Maybe when I was new in the game, but and there's a nostalgia to it. Like, oh man, I really loved eating ribs at a barbecue in somebody's backyard. I love that homemade potato salad with that eggs and that paprika. That was some good stuff, right? So that's my feeling of that nostalgia, because it puts me back in the mindset of being in the backyard, having a good time with family and friends and music and all that, right? But my commitment to like being a vegan and what it has done for me, and not the label of vegan, but the diet of what I put in my body, is stronger than my desire to taste that paprika and eggs and all that stuff again. Okay. So it's like, yes, I feel good that I can see that and not want to eat it. I can feel that feeling and not need to succumb to it. So I'm like, good job, Bryn, you're doing great. So that goes back to the celebrating. If you want to have instant gratification, which is fine, you just have to rewire your brain that my gratification will be in the not doing it. And I will make that as great as if I had ate it.
Okay, so that basically, so what I do is I say, oh man, I get to go to the gym today.
Yeah.
I get to wake up and eat plant-based. I got my little watermelon here. Sometimes I have I do mostly fruit or mostly vegetables, or something like that. And I wake up and I say, oh, I get to do this. And so that's what you're saying with that instant gratification.
Yep.
Switching that
mentality. And when you get to the gym, you celebrate. I got to the gym. See, that's the thing we don't do. I get to go to the gym today, so I'm celebrating that. I'm excited, right? Just like if I was going to Disneyland or an amusement park or somewhere I'm excited to go. I get to go to the gym today. Today's the gym day, everybody, right? Nobody does that, right? Everybody goes, hey, I'm going to the gym. I got to get my workout in or whatever, right? So it's like, yeah, I get to go to the gym today. Everybody, I'm going to the gym today. And they're like, you're weird. Why do you want to go to the gym? It's like, yeah, I love going to the gym. But when you get to the gym, you got to be like, I made it to the gym. That's what's up, right? You were
Okay.
walking right. Like, I made it to the gym. What we gonna do? It's an arms day. It's an arms day. And then you're gonna do your first exercise. And then you'd be like, got that done. Okay, I did my chest press. I did my chest press. Right. So like the whole workout, make it a whole celebration, not just the I get to go to the gym today. Because it might not be sustainable. And at first, I will say it's going to feel artificial. It's going to feel ridiculous. But you do it enough, I promise you, you'll find it's so much easier to do all the things, right? And the most important thing is when it comes to fitness, right? And working out and losing weight and working on making my body feel good, that's great. But again, we're treating a symptom rather than a cause. What's going on internally that has us maybe eating the foods that we eat, doing the things that we're doing, the self-sabotaging behaviors? We always want to work from the outside in. A lot of times you need to work from the inside out. And that's sort of like, that's where you do your journaling. That's where you're doing your affirmations. That's where you're doing the part where you're bigging you up. You're figuring out who you are and what identity you want to be, so that then it's like it's sustainable. Because a lot of people can lose weight, they can fit into the old size, they can get the new job, they can do the whatever, but we'll recreate the circumstances again if we haven't treated what it was inside of us that craved it in the first place.
Yes, that's literally becoming who we're destined to be.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I talk about with execution, because as you're executing, you're taking those steps, you're becoming, you're doing the thing to be. And it can get not overwhelming, but like mundane. Like it can
Yep.
seem like you're not doing anything, or it can seem like it's not working. But when you're doing that journaling, when you're making those affirmations, you're literally reprogramming your subconscious mind.
Yep.
And I think that is so important. It makes me think about, okay, so you had a challenge. What is your next challenge?
So my next challenge is going to be in August. I don't think I'm doing one in the month of July. I'm taking the month of July off as from challenge right now because I have a bunch of clients and I'd have to reschedule them to do a challenge for a week. But in August, I think it's going to be towards the end of August, right? Maybe right before the kids go back to school or right around the time they do. I have a 5-day challenge called the Take Your Mindset Pro Challenge. And it's all about how to have a pro mindset. And it is kind of goes back to the growth mindset, abundance mindset, whatever you want to call it. But there's pro mindset is just someone who really understands. Like I consider what I have as a professional mindset. Like it's a way of life. It's a way of being. Like I am on that mindset at all times. And when I take my departure from it, I'm always coming back to it because I know who I am. I know what I'm doing that's getting in the way. Like, oh, I'm feeling sorry for myself. Not that I don't ever do that, right? But it's like my bounce is so much faster because I have the right foundation to be able to kind of put things into perspective. I understand the world is not doing something to me. I'm doing this to myself. This isn't happening to me. I'm creating these circumstances. So then I have the power and the ability to change it. So it's really about, obviously, a lot of people admire athletes. I work with athletes. So the idea is to give the same principles that I give my pro athletes to people like entrepreneurs and business owners that want to do something different. But the real thing is, of course, everybody wants to execute, like you said. They want to have the success. And just like my athletes, they want to win. They want to go to the top of their sport. But I care more about the person in the journey than I care about the end result. And so who are you being? And how can I help you change who you are? So again, your point of attraction, your point of everything changes as a result.
You know, that's really important. Really getting into, that's what I was going to say. Just it reminds me of the challenge, because getting into that person on the process, like the current self, who I am today, not who I think I am, who I'm trying to be, but actually being super honest in reality and saying, okay, this is where I'm starting at. And then being able to build upon that. But I can't build on anything if I'm not being honest and if I'm not aware.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, and you use that term reality, and I just have to address it because that's probably one of the biggest disservices is us thinking there's a shared reality, that everybody's experiencing the same thing that I'm experiencing. And that's not true, right? Even though we're both on this podcast and then there's somebody listening to it, since they were listening to the recording of this, all three of us are having a different experience in real time of the same event. And so like, it's like when, somebody runs in and runs out and everybody goes, oh, that person was wearing green. And the other person's like, no, they were wearing red. And the other person's like, no, they were wearing blue. And you're like, how is that possible, right? That you saw three different things. Or you go to the Yanni and Laurel of the audio of people hearing things differently, or you go to the blue dress and the orange dress or whatever it is. It starts to show you that everybody doesn't see, hear, or, do the same things. And so once you get that, it's like, my reality is the only reality I need to be concerned with, which is not that I'm saying for my reality is your reality, but once I take responsibility for, I'm the one that is creating this world. Am I creating a world I want to live in? Am I creating a circumstance that, would be something I could thrive in and others could thrive in as well? How I see you actually is the only way you can show up to me. So if I think you're a jerk and you keep showing up as a jerk, I get to be right. So it's like that kind of power, but people don't think about it like that. They're just like, well, she's a jerk. He's doing this to me and the world is against me and I don't want to live like this. And the world's a terrible place. You guys know the world's a terrible place, right? And it's like, and it's just like, well, I don't know. That's not my world that I live in. So I don't know. That's not my experience, right? But I can have that if I want to. I can go and make the world a terrible place. I can make everybody bad. I can think of all the terrible things that are happening. It's all what I'm honing into and tuning into that is going to be magnified in my experience. And so if you want something different, you're going to have to tune in and focus and, first of all, be a bit different point of attraction, but see differently. And the world can only show up the way that you're perceiving it.
Yes, see differently. Differently. That is so important. When you said that, I thought about, you said it too. Everything is my fault. Can you
let's talk about that. Because I did say take responsibility for everything. I do want to get away from the word fault, because fault inevitably leads to that other B word, which is blame. And I look at blame as be lame. Okay. And when you're blaming something, right, being lame, even if it's you're crippling yourself to have the power to do anything about it. Okay. Because lame in the old days meant to be crippled, right? If a horse was lame, that meant that it was crippled, and unfortunately they would put it down, things like that, because it's hard to heal a horse's broken leg. And if a horse can't walk, that type of thing. But I don't think they should kill horses. I'm not, don't get me on that. But the point is that in the end, right? Like if I just take 100%, I have two rules and it goes back to the reality thing that I tell all of my clients, all of my athletes. You are 100% responsible for your life and you create your reality. Okay. So when I say responsible, right, it means responsibility, ability to respond. I cannot always control what happened, but I can always control how I respond to it. So when you say everything's your fault, which I know Dave says, I'm like, no, that's bad, because that goes back to the shame thing. It's my fault. It's my fault. It's my fault. No, it's my responsibility. So I am not taking responsibility for you. I'm saying I can only control 50% of this podcast. I can't control what questions Victoria asks me, but I do have the ability to decide if I'm having a good time, how I'm going to respond to the questions, where I want to take the conversation. So if I felt like this was a terrible podcast, Victoria didn't, which I don't, by the way, but if I felt like that, right? And then I said, she's not a great interviewer. It's like, well, because she didn't bring out of me what I wanted to say. It's like, I can take it wherever I want to go, right? Like technically you're giving me free reign to go wherever I want to go with my answers. So I have the ability to do something about it. So when I come off this podcast in a few minutes, as long as I can say I did what I felt was best during that time, then I can leave it at peace. And I don't have to go back and like denigrate the host or do anything like that. But a lot of times we want to blame other people and say, well, if she had asked better questions, I would have gave better answers. Does that make sense? And so it's like, where are you not taking responsibility for your life and then giving yourself an opportunity? It's like, yeah, I could have made a bit different decision. You're right. If I didn't say this, you might not have said that, and we wouldn't be here. So that's responsibility. I don't have to beat myself up. I'm just like, I see where we got there. And next time I don't want to get there again. So what's a different response I can have versus it's all my fault. and I need to beat myself up, and then I get stuck in the beating myself up part, right? Because everything's not your fault, right? Let's be honest. It's not your fault that someone abused you as a child, right? It's not your fault
It's
that,
your responsibility.
it's your
Yes.
responsibility of how I'm going to, what am I going to do with that? That happened to me. It happened. There's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
What am I going to do with it or about it?
Right.
Like in the sense of, I can't change that it happened, but I can change how I respond to it, how I identify, how I transmute that into something else. But see, when we say fault, there's all that shame and blame and, just feeling down, right? Like
That makes so much sense.
So that's why I make the distinction between fault and responsibility. And so once you recognize that you're 100% responsible, then you never have to feel powerless in any situation. So my boss is really mean to me. And I'm like, great. Okay. Do you want to stay at this job? Yes. Right. Okay. Or no. Right. So if the answer is yes, then it's like, okay, how are you seeing your boss? I think they're a terrible person. Okay. Well, this might be where you want to start. Because you can't change the boss's action, but you can change how you see the boss. So I can start to secretly go in and, like how it says, go away in secret, right? I can go ahead and I can start to see the boss differently. I can write about the boss differently. I can pray for the boss at night and not pray for the boss to be different, but just say, I see the boss like so kind and loving and has a loving family and, really loves themselves. And I can really start to do that, even though it's hard, right? Just kind of go back to the, the whole thing is, bless them for they know not what they do, right? So if I can just do that over and over again, eventually the boss will be different. I promise you. Now, you'd have to do it faithfully, and you also cannot, and your job is also not to respond in a, because I always say amateurs react and pros respond, or elite performers respond. So my job is to say, okay, the boss is talking to me a certain type of way that I don't like. And you say, okay, what I'm hearing you say is that I could have better performance. I would like to ask, could you give me 3 metrics that I could meet that would make it better for me, so I could be clear on how to do that? And it's hard to do that when you don't like the person and you're like in this place, but I'm going to see the highest version of you, even when you're not showing it to me. And it's not always easy. Oh no, it is not. But but once I decide to react, I'm no longer the version of myself that I like either, where I'm yelling at you or I'm talking about you behind your back, right? So if I can just get to a place of who am I being in this interaction? Do I like who I'm being? Do I like the way I'm thinking about this person? So it's like, okay, I'm just going to listen and love. Okay. I would like them to talk to me differently. So I would say, okay, I've heard everything you said. You would like me to work harder, show up differently. There's some things that you think that I could improve. May I ask a request? Sometimes when I hear these things, I am confused at is there things that I am doing well, right? So maybe there's a way to have that conversation, and then you're like, well, I don't feel safe. I can't do that, right? So then it's like, well, why am I staying in this job, right? If I really feel like this person is abusive, why am I staying in this relationship, right? So like sometimes I have to keep this job. It's the only way I can pay my bills. Is that true? So it's that type of stuff, right? Is that true? Because a lot of times, like, well, if I don't want to do that, Bryn, I don't want to journal about that jerk. I don't want to do that. Okay, well then maybe this isn't the job for you. But if you are going to choose to stay in that job, how can you make it work for you? So I had a client who was having a difficulty with her son, constantly feeling like they're fighting. He's making poor decisions. She's getting upset, that. So I said, why don't you start to see your son differently? Why don't you start to change the way you interact with your son? Their relationship is amazing now. And all she had to do was change her. She couldn't change him. She changed her. And that's the problem. We try to change the other person. If they would just be different, I could handle them. But you can't always change the other person. All you can do is do something about what you're doing. And when you change how you respond, typically that other person will as well.
Yes. Yes. I'm literally the product of this too. Just thinking about being in a relationship with somebody who wasn't ready for what I was ready for. And in that state, the Victoria back then was trying to change this person.
Yeah.
Like you gotta, why, trying to make them become on my level, when I should have left them on their level, kept going. Somebody else is going to be on the next level that I'm
Right.
on, but I can only be in control of myself. I can't try to pull them along
Yeah.
and then be like, they used me. No, you played yourself because you wouldn't let go.
Yep.
So
They
yes,
told you who they
yes.
were. Right. Exactly. So it's a lot of times like if I'm going to choose to stay in this, then I have to accept them for where they are and who they are at the time. And a lot of times it's like, well, I don't have the patience or the time to do that. Well, then it's time for a change. I have
Thank you
3 minutes,
so
just
much.
letting you know. Yeah.
Yes, this was so good. This was so good. Okay, so speed round. I have 3 questions.
Okay.
What does healing mean to you?
Ooh, so I think I think of healing sort of like evolving, right? And I think that healing just means that um, I'm getting better. I'm more aware of myself and I'm able to take what happened to me and use it for me, right? And to grow from it. So I think healing is growth. I think healing is acceptance. I think healing is just embracing the journey. So, because I think oftentimes people think that healing is like, oh, and that's the other thing I've been saying lately. Like everybody thinks closure is something you take to the other person. Like, okay, I just want to let you know this is how I felt. And then when you say the right thing, then I'll feel better. But it's like closure is just something that I have to kind of like, it's acceptance within yourself. Like, okay, this happened. What am I learned? What have I learned from this? Okay, what actions am I going to do differently going forward? Like, so who am I? How am I different? What different actions would I like to do going forward? And how can I just accept that that happened and that it was a beautiful thing that I had to experience to become this next level of myself? So that's what I think healing is.
I love it. Okay, what does healing finances mean to you?
Ooh, healing finances. So I think a lot of people like have a really interesting or an abusive relationship with money. They give money too much power, right? And it's like, they say that money is the root of all evil, but the real expression is the love of money. So money is just energy. And so I attract who I am, right? And so like right now I'm having more financial success than I've ever had in my life, but it's more like I changed my relationship with money. So when it comes to healing finances, it's accepting that this energy that seems to be looming over me from my past, my childhood, my family's history, and all that is just like I need to like change my relationship with money. So part of that is accepting that money is just energy. How do I feel about it? So when you want to heal your finances, you want to look at like, why do I feel this way about money? And what's a different way I could feel about money? What if, I didn't have to look at somebody who has money as like they're selfish and I could just accept that money, whoever has it, is an opportunity to do many great things. And when I have it, because I always say money is the great amplifier. When you have it, you're gonna be more of who you are. Right. And so like if I was a jerk before money, I'm going to be a jerk with money. It's not like money's going to heal me. Right. So it's more just like, who am I being? And when I look at my finances, how do I feel? How do I celebrate? And if you only got 2 pennies, I need you to celebrate those 2 pennies. I need you to learn to celebrate what you have. I always say, when you have good shepherdship when you show good shepherdship over what you have, you'll be given more. So it's really just important to be grateful for what you do have and just kind of sit with yourself and really say, do I really want to how is this mindset about finances really serving me? And if I'm broke, then there's definitely something to look at. And if I'm rich, but I feel still like I don't love it, there's something to look at. So it's more about how am I feeling about what I have than it is about that I have it or I don't have it.
Yes. Okay. I'm so grateful that you've come and talked to the collective. Let everyone know where they can find you and get involved.
Yes, yes. So my name is Bryn. You can, obviously, I put my IG in halfway through the interview at Bryn Drescher. So this is my first and last name. So definitely you can follow me on all the platforms: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all that stuff. I'm at Bryn Drescher. And if you're interested in the link in my bio on Instagram and joining my challenge, you can do so. I recommend the VIP. And it's a great way to just kind of jumpstart yourself for 5 days to get into that pro mindset. And and if you're looking for somebody to coach you and you're an entrepreneur or a 9-to-5er that does have a side hustle and or you're an athlete, definitely tap in with me, because I just want to help you have the identity and be the person that you truly are, which is more of a subtraction than it is an addition. Let's be real. And then, get you to be that unstoppable force in your life. So thank you so much, Victoria, for this opportunity to be on your podcast.
Yes, thank you for coming, and we're so happy to have you. Make sure that if you're ready to peel back those layers, you connect with Bryn. As always, thank you for watching. Make sure you do some healing today. Peace and healing, y'all. We're out.
Thank you. All right.